All right, let's get right into it. When you hear the words leadership in apprenticeships, your mind might jump to policies, paperwork, and maybe some high-level meetings, right? But what does it actually feel like for the apprentice on the ground? Well, that's what we're going to unpack today. How those top-level decisions create the day-to-day reality for every single learner. And this right here is the perfect place to start. Because if there's one thing the source material makes absolutely clear, it's this. Great leadership is not about ticking boxes for a regulator. It's not a compliance game. It's something much, much deeper. It's the difference between a training plan that feels purposeful and one that feels chaotic. It's what determines the quality of coaching, the consistency of progress reviews, really, the level of support an apprentice feels every single day. So you see, leadership isn't some abstract idea. It is incredibly tangible. So if it's not just about paperwork, what is it really about? Well, we can break down effective leadership into 5 core pillars. Let's walk through what they are. First up, strategic leadership. This is basically the why behind everything the provider does. It means leaders have taken a hard, honest look at their own strengths and weaknesses. And from that, they've built a clear plan, a roadmap that ensures the training journey actually builds real-world skills that matter to both apprentices and employers. Next, we have governance. Now, you can think of this as the accountability engine. Whether it's a board of directors or the owner, their job is to ask the tough questions. Are they really challenging the leadership team on apprentice progress? Are they making sure that quality stays high? The third pillar is a serious focus on inclusion. And look, strong leadership doesn't just hope for fairness. It actively builds it into the system. This means providing real, tailored support for apprentices who might have special educational needs or face other barriers. It's about making sure everyone has a fair shot. Of course, an apprenticeship is a partnership, which brings us to stakeholder engagement. This is all about building strong, collaborative relationships. Good leaders make sure employers are not just bystanders, but are deeply involved in the process, with communication that's always clear and consistent. And finally, we have resource allocation. This is where those high-level decisions really hit the ground. Things like how many apprentices is each coach responsible for? Is there proper funding for professional development? And let's be clear, a leader who overloads their coaching staff is making a direct decision to lower the quality of the teaching. It's that simple. Okay, so theory is one thing, but what's really fascinating is seeing how all this plays out in the real world. So let's tell a tale of 2 very different providers and see the impact of their leadership choices. So in one corner, we have a mid-sized provider. Their whole strategy is built around quality and making steady, sustainable improvements. And in the other corner, we've got a provider that's expanding like crazy, prioritizing rapid growth above pretty much everything else. Let's look at how they treat their staff. The strong provider notices when workloads get too high, so they adjust them to protect quality. They invest in training for their coaches. The weak provider, their coaches are completely overloaded, which, no surprise, leads to delayed reviews and total burnout. And for the apprentices themselves, well, the difference is night and day. At the strong provider, the experience actually improves. Their coaching is consistent, their path forward is clear, but at the weak provider, apprentices are just left with a chaotic, inconsistent journey that's full of delays and frustration. Now let's look at governance. At the strong provider, the board is actually digging into the data. They're finding quality issues and holding leadership's feet to the fire to fix them. The weak provider's board, they're just looking at the financial spreadsheets, completely oblivious to the quality problems festering right under their noses. And you can bet this has a huge knock-on effect. Employers working with a strong provider, they feel confident, they're engaged. But once stuck with the weak provider, they check out, they disengage because of the poor communication and totally unreliable delivery. So you might be wondering, how does a formal body like Ofsted see all of this? How do they judge the difference? Let's take a quick look at their framework. Let's take inclusion as an example. A provider that needs attention simply isn't prioritizing support, and the outcome is uneven progress. But a strong provider, they've made inclusion central to their entire strategy. And the outcome? All apprentices achieve. The difference is just stark. And it's the exact same story with stakeholder engagement. At the weak end, you have engagement that has little impact, which leads to disengaged employers. But at the strong end, you see powerful partnerships that, and I'm quoting here, significantly enhance an apprentice's development. It's about moving from just having a process to creating real, measurable impact. So, As we start to bring this all together, you can see it really boils down to one crucial thing: the ability to connect the dots between the decisions being made and the outcomes being delivered. When providers get it wrong, it's rarely because they don't have policies. It's because they fall into these classic traps. Their self-evaluation is shallow. Their governance doesn't ask hard questions. They don't manage staff workload, and they get stuck prioritizing compliance over actual impact. And that brings us to the most important point of all. Effective leadership isn't about having a shiny folder of policies. It's about being able to draw a straight, undeniable line from a decision made in a meeting room to a positive outcome for an apprentice out in the real world. Proving that link is everything. Which really just leaves us with one final critical question to think about. It's not about whether your leadership exists on paper. It's about whether it is visible and felt in the daily progress and success of every single one of your apprentices. Because ultimately, that is the only test